بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألف لام ميم ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم.
This opinion from the imams, from the mujtahideen, from the independent jurists, the great scholars and doctors of fiqh. And this was quoted from Imam al-Khatib al-Baghdadi in his book Sharafu Ashab al-Hadith. And then the Shaykh Hafidhullah Ta'ala, he says, وَهَذِهِ طَائِفَةٌ مِنْ كَلَامِ أَهْلِ الْعِلْمِ مِمَّا يَدُلُّ عَلَى مَا تَقَدَّمَ. He says, now we will mention some of the statements of the people of knowledge proving what we've already mentioned, or what we've already quoted for you. قال القاضي عياض. القاضي عياض, he said, فإن علم الكتاب والأثر أصل الشريعة الذي إليه انتماؤها وأساس علومها الذي عليه ارتفع تفريع فروعها وبناؤها وعلم عذب المشرب رفيع المطلب متدافق الينبوع متشعب الفصول والفروع. القاضي عياض رحمه الله تعالى, he said, verily the knowledge of the book and the knowledge of al-athar, meaning ilm al-hadith, it is the foundation of the sharia, unto which it is ascribed and attributed, and it is the foundation of its sciences, which have become elevated. The subsidiary sciences and the sciences which are branched off from the book of the Sunnah, they return back to the book of the Sunnah, and they become elevated, lifted up. And then Qadi Iyad, he says, and it is a knowledge, the knowledge of al-athar, of hadith, adhbul mashrab. He says it's a very sweet knowledge, a very sweet tasting knowledge. He says, warafi'ul matlab, and something of very high esteem. No one can study this unless he has high aspirations, big goals. Rafi'ul matlab, it takes a person to have azima, determination and resolve. It's not, as we previously mentioned, that it's masculine. It's not something for a weak person or ignorant person or someone who wishes يعني يرضى بالدون, to be pleased with just a little. يستسخر, who's pleased with being in loss. It's for someone who has to have high aspirations, ilm al-hadith. He says here, and it is something which its spring gushes forth, and its branches, its branches, they grow very long, to the end of the statement of Al-Qadi Iyad. وقال النووي, Imam al-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, فإن من أهم العلوم تحقيق معرفة الأحاديث النبويات أعني معرفة متونها صحيحها وحسنها وضعيفها وبقية أنواعها المعروفات. He says, from the most important sciences, this is what Imam al-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala said. He says, from the most important of the sciences to actualize, to verilize is, he says, to actualize the knowledge of the prophetic ahadith. These statements, the narrations of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, I intend knowing the mutun, the wordings of those hadith, those which are sahih, authentic, sound, firm, those which are hasan, fair and acceptable, those which are da'if, weak, unacceptable. He says, in the rest of the well-known aspects and angles of the science of hadith. He says, وَدَلِيلُ ذَلِكَ, and what's the proof for this? That is from the most important things. What's the evidence for this? He says, وَدَلِيلُ ذَلِكَ أَنَّ شَرْعَنَا مَبْنِيٌّ عَلَى الْكِتَابِ وَالسُّنَنِ الْمَرْوِيَّاتِ. He says that our religion is based upon the book and the sunan, the narrations of the Prophet ﷺ. وَعَلَى السُّنَنِ مَدَارُ أَكْثَرِ الْأَحْكَامِ الْفِقْهِيَّاتِ. And he says, and upon the sunnah, the narrations of the Prophet ﷺ, are most of the rulings of the religion, of jurisprudence, fiqh, based on and established, as we previously mentioned. Imam al-Nawawi rahimahullah goes on to say, فَإِنَّ أَكْثَرَ الْآيَاتِ الْفُرُوعِيَّاتِ مُحْتَمَلَاتِ. He says, for indeed most of the verses in the Quran that pertain to the subsidiary issues, the secondary issues, meaning fiqh, jurisprudence, the halal and the haram, marriage, divorce, buying, selling, beseechment, writing wills. He says most of them are muhtamalat. They're unexplicit. They're mentioned in detail and in general, as we previously explained. He says, وَبَيَانُهَا فِي السُّنَنِ الْمُحْكَمَاتِ. And the clarification of these rulings and regulations is in the masterful narrations of the Sunnah. وَقَدْ اتَّفَقَ الْعُلَمَاءُ على أن من شرط المجتهد من القاضي والمفتي أن يكون عالما بالأحاديث الحكميات. He says, and listen very closely what Imam An-Nawawi says. He says, and the ulama, the people of knowledge, are in total agreement that it is a condition, a shart, a condition, a prerequisite for a mujtahid, for someone to be considered a absolute independent jurist who does not blind follow. And for one to be a qadi, an Islamic judge, and for one to be a mufti, one who gives fatwa, he must be knowledgeable of the ahadith of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's impermissible for him to quote a hadith dhaifa, weak hadith, and says, Allah knows best. The hadith, I found it in this book. I heard this sheikh say it. He mentioned in this footnote, so inshallah it's sahih. This is impermissible. For one who's a mujtahid, for one who's a qadi, one who's a mufti. There's a difference between a scholar and someone who's mujtahid. Every scholar is not mujtahid. One who's a mufti, one who gives fatwa rulings by himself, is a condition that he knows the sunnah and he knows it's authentic from that which is unauthentic. This is a condition, and this is mentioned in the books of Usul al-Fiqh. He says here, فَثَبَتَ بِمَا ذَكَرْنَاهُ أَنَّ الْإِشْتِغَالَ بِالْحَدِيثِ مِنْ أَجَلِ الْعُلُومِ الرَّاجِحَاتِ. He says, so therefore, what we have mentioned, it has become proven that busy, listen to what Imam An-Nawawi said in the 7th century, busying yourself with hadith is from the most sublime of sciences. Allahu Akbar. Look what Imam An-Nawawi says, and look what the many Muslims today say. Imam An-Nawawi says, this is from the best things to do. Busy yourself with studying the Sunnah and Hadith. And we have the Muslims today, many of them don't study the sciences of the Sunnah. It's a waste of time. You can't benefit from it. We need fiqh, we need shari', we need this, and so on and so forth. And the likes of the statements of the ignoramuses, whether they're those who are outside of Islam or those who are inside of Islam. Those who attribute themselves to the Sunnah and attribute themselves to knowledge and da'wah, or those who don't attribute it, they attribute themselves. And you have to be very careful from being amongst of those who wish for something other than what the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. That when the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam says something, إنما كان قول المؤمنين إذا دعوا إلى الله ورسوله ليحكم بينهم أن يقولوا سمعنا وأطعنا وأولئك هم Allah Azza wa Jalla, He says, it is on the statement of the believers when they are called to Allah and His Messenger, ليحكم بينهم, to make a ruling, to make judgment between them, for them to say, سمعنا وأطعنا, we hear and we obey. And these people, Allah Azza wa Jal, He says, He says, al-muflihun, they are the successful. The people are prosperous. Prosperous, Allah Azza wa Jal, He mentioned the munafiqeen. And He said, وَإِذَا دُعُوا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ لِيَحْكُمَ بَيْنَهُمْ, when they are called to Allah and His Messenger to make a ruling for them, what do they say? He says, Allah Azza wa Jalla says, وَإِذَا دُعُوا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ يَحْكُمَ بَيْنَهُم. He says, فَإِذَا هُمْ مُعْرِضُونَ. He says they turn away. They turn away from Allah and His Messenger. They turn away from the Sunnah. The Sunnah is clear. You want a statement of a person from mankind, from Zayd and Bakr and Amr. And the Rasul ﷺ stated something. What does the munafiqeen, إِذَا هُمْ مُعْرِضُونَ, what does Allah Azza wa Jalla say about them, Surah Nur? أَفِي قُلُوبِهِمْ مَرَضٌ. He says, do they have a sickness, an illness in the heart? أَمْ يَرْتَابُوا, or have they doubt about the Sunnah? أَمْ يَخَافُونَ أَنْ يَحِيفَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ وَرَسُولُهُ, or do they fear that Allah and His Messenger will give them an unjust ruling? وَلِيَعْذُ بِاللَّهِ بَلْ أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الظَّالِمُونَ. Allah says, rather, nay, these people are the ظالمون. These are the ظالمون. Allah Azza wa Jalla said about the munafiqeen, وَإِن يَكُنْ لَهُمُ الْحَقُّ يَأْتُوا إِلَيْهِ مُذْعِنِينَ. Allah Azza wa Jalla, He says, and if the truth is with the munafiqeen, the hypocrites, يَأْتُوا إِلَيْهِ مُذْعِنِينَ, they come to the Rasul sallallahu in full submission. When the Sunnah is an agreement, when and for what someone wants in his desires, he submits to it. When the Athar is in agreement to his desires, he submits to it. When what the books say is in agreement in his desires and what he wants to prove, he submits to it. When it's against his desires, oh no, you don't have the correct understanding of that narration. Or that Sunnah, that hadith doesn't apply right here. Or you have to listen to, and you have to take the advice, and so on and so on and so forth. And the rest of the garbage that is stated. When the Sunnah is clear, you submit to the Sunnah of the Rasul ﷺ. And how can you submit to the Sunnah of the Rasul ﷺ unless you learn it, and that which is authentic? طيب. Going on to finish, Imam An-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala's kalam, he says, وَأَفْضَلُ أَنْوَاعِ الْخَيْرِ وَآكَدُ الْقُرُبَاتِ إلى آخر كلامه رحمه الله تعالى. Also, studying the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is from the best types of khair and the most substantial means of seeking nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The last statement that the Shaykh Hafidhullah ta'ala quotes, قال أبو الطيب صديق حسن خان الحسيني أبو الطيب صديق حسن خان الحسيني, he said, اعلم أن أنفى العلوم الشرعية أو الشريفة ومفتاحها ومشكاة الأدلة السمعية ومصباحها وعمدة المناهج اليقينية ورأسها مبني شرائع الإسلام وأساسها ومستند الروايات الفقهية كلها ومأخذ الفنون الدينية دقها وجلها وأسوة جملة الأحكام وأسها هو علم الحديث الشريف الذي تعرف به جوامع الكلم وتنفرج منه ينابيع الحكم وتدور عليه روح الشرع بالأسر وملاك كل نهى وأمر ولولاه لقال من شاء ما شاء وخبط الناس خبط عشواء وركبوا متن عمياء أو كما قال. He says here, know for sure that the basis of, I'm going to translate the kalam bil ma'na and meaning, the basis and the key of all of the ulum, the sciences, he says, and the lantern of the adillah, the proofs and evidences, and the lamp of the proofs and evidences, the basis of all things which prove certainty, yaqeen, the basis of the legislatures of al-Islam, and all things of jurisprudence and of fiqh come from the science of hadith, ilm al-hadith al-sharif. And with ilm al-hadith al-sharif, a person can come to know of the jawami al-kalim, the comprehensive statements of the Rasul ﷺ. Until the end of his speech, he mentioned something which is very similar to what the ulama and the scholars who came before him. Bi-idhnillah azza wa jal, this is what I prepared for today's session. And inshallah azza wa jal, in our next sitting, if Allah azza wa jal allows, we'll mention the status of the muhaddithin and the ummah. And Allah azza wa jal is the one whom we ask to give us a success and to teach us beneficial knowledge and to allow us to have righteous action and to be true students of the sunnah and people who truly love the Rasul ﷺ and truly follow his sunnah and call to it, defend it, learn it ourselves and teach others, and to be of those who will be gathered under his banner, liwa al-hamd, on the day of judgment. Allah azza wa jalla surely knows best. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala abdihi wa rasulihi nabiyyina Muhammad.